All right, Merry Christmas, everybody. So some of y'all have asked for a shorter version of the gumbo or a quick gumbo video, and I will be kicked out of many of the Cajun clubs for this one, but there is a quicker, what they call a quick gumbo recipe. I saw Stale Cracker do one the other day, and since he didn't get that much heat for it, I figured I would do one also for y'all. So this will be a quick gumbo when you don't want to spend all day making a gumbo. It won't have all the taste that you want it to, but it will be halfway decent, and I'm gonna show y'all how we do that one. All right, so this will be the most evilest thing I do right here, but I showed y'all this in my last video. This is instant roux mix, and this is 1 cup of roux mix for 2 cups of cold water. All right, so per the instructions, we're whisking in a cup of the roux mix with 2 cups of cold water, and then over this heat, you're going to heat it up to a boil. So if we document the time here, all right, so 4:56 if you want to see the time. So the instructions say once this starts thickening up, we're going to take this off the heat. And now we have roux. The same roux that took us an hour and 20 minutes in my first video took 2 minutes in this one. So we got our roux in our pot right here. We're gonna take this and we're gonna have our holy trinity here of vegetables, our onions, bell pepper, celery. Mix this in. All right, so I'm cooking down my vegetables again. Again, I'm gonna do it 15 minutes. Got 10 minutes left on that. And while that's working on that, I'm gonna start cooking down sausage in here. I think my sausage assistant approves. So the sausage we're using from a place called Don's, and I'm using 2.8 pounds. And normally, in a 2-pound gumbo, I'm putting about 2 pounds of sausage. But I know I eat my way throughout as I go this. And I'll just come by and snap some of this in my mouth. But I'm going to cook this down here separately. While I'm cooking this down, waiting the 15 minutes. Making sure, stirring this constantly, because even though I got this on a lower heat, I need to make sure that this does not stick to the bottom of this pot, which it's starting to do. So I'm going to keep stirring this around. So this recipe normally calls for about 4 tablespoons of parsley flakes, but because our seasoning mix from that container has fresh parsley in it, I'm only putting about 1.5 tablespoons, really. I don't want to overdo it. It's enough. But I need to get in there. And I also added a tablespoon of minced garlic, because that seasoning mix does have some garlic in it, but I need to add more to that. So get this cooking down about another 5 minutes. Our onions are starting to turn clear. Y'all can kind of see with the steam in here, but our onions are turning clearer. We still got some more to go. We got our sausage cooking over here. And like I said, y'all going to see this gumbo takes way less time. You know, we don't have a stock. We don't have a stock over here that we're making first with smoked turkey necks and stuff like that. You know, we're doing this as a quick thing to show you how a gumbo can actually be quick if you want it that way. I'm also in this recipe going for 1 of these chickens. I know in the last video I used 2, but it was a bit much chicken for us, and I've just got 1 chicken. So I'm gonna go ahead and split this apart while I'm still sitting here, and I'm stirring this pot because it is sticking on the bottom. And I still have my sausage cooking here on a medium heat, medium fire, as they say. I personally don't like doing this because, for me, I want all this stuff to cook down into this. But now, if you remember last video, we had the sausage that was placed in here, and that sausage went for 10, 15, 20 minutes or whatever it was in here. Now, I'm going to save that time because this sausage is cooked down. We're gonna put that in here. All right, so our sausage has been cooking, and like I explained to you on the last video, the pink in it is actual chemical reaction of it cooking. That's from the smoke when all the sausage was smoked. So the sausage really is cooked already, but we want to cook it down just a little bit more. So basically, from this point, all we're going to do is transfer this sausage and put this sausage straight into this pot. And now we don't have to wait the 10 or 15 minutes for that to cook. Blend them together. It's cooked already. Go ahead and finish this off and I'll be right back. So we have all of our shrimp now incorporated with this. But a lot of this is good. This is taste, if you could say that, on the bottom of here. So we're going to put a little bit of our chicken stock into this and try to get some of this up. I'm going to get something else to scrape this up, but I'm going to scrape this up and I'm putting that into here because that's a lot of flavor in there and I want that in here. All right, so we put that water from that pan into here, and that's going to be our first water that we're putting in here. And then just like the last video, though, we want to incorporate this liquid in here very slowly. We don't want it to separate it. I know I've seen some videos. Cajun Ninja even says it's okay if it separates, but I've had all kinds of issues when it separates. So that's our first water. I'll put about another quarter of that in there. And I'm just going to stir this around and letting it blend in until it blends in perfectly. And as it blends in perfectly, like it is now, add some more. I'm going to keep stirring this up. I'm also raising this heat up because I'm eventually going to want this to come to boil. So this is our third quart right here. Another thing you'll notice versus the last one I did is you have a lot more of these vegetables floating on the top. And I really think that has to do with, again, with that roux. That's the only thing I can figure out. And you'll see why I tell you on the last video, I hardly ever use this roux in a can or the roux in a jar. Not that I don't trust Mr. Tony Shastry, who's the OG in this, but he made that for convenience. But that true gumbo will have that roux that takes, like we said, an hour or so to cook down. So we got one more quart left to go in here. All right, I know this is going to go against my last recipe, but again, this is a quick gumbo. This is not one that got to cook down and everything like that. So this is 1 tablespoon of salt. And stir this in before I go on to the next step. Next is 1 tablespoon of Mr. Cajun two-step season stale cracker. So it's 1 tablespoon of his. And next is 1 tablespoon of Mr. Cajun Ninja PR. So it's 1 tablespoon of his. So it's 2 tablespoons total. I don't know if I said 2 earlier, but that's 2 total. And it's actually 1 of each. It's funny how you mess with these gumbos, you do different things like that, and you don't really pay attention to what kind of seasons and how much you put it in. Then when you're trying to document it for video, you don't know. I mean, you have to realize, oh, I got to put a measurement to this. So I found that my last gumbo needed a little bit of salt and a little bit of Cajun seasoning. So I upped it a little bit in this one because we didn't cook it down as long as we did. And we didn't get a chance to cook it down so that a lot of that salt and flavors came out. So I'm adding a little bit now, test it out, see how it is, and document it. So next time I know if I got to change it or not. All right, next, since I don't want to make it too hot since we added more Cajun seasoning the last time, I'm sticking with 1 teaspoon of black pepper, incorporating that in. Now, what you can do is, what I used to do is put kind of all this together in a little bowl, all the Cajun seasoning and the pepper and the different things like that, salt, and then put it in at one time, kind of sprinkled around and incorporate it. But I didn't want to do that since I'm trying to put all this on video and show y'all. So that's why I'm kind of doing it separate. All right, next is ground thyme. I'm gonna tell you, ground thyme can get overpowering. In the last recipe, I set up a teaspoon and a half, and while I figured it needed a little more seasoning, I'm scared to put more ground thyme in it because that just is a very overpowering seasoning if you put too much, and I don't want to overpower it. So I'm sticking with a teaspoon and a half of the ground thyme, and if that's something that y'all like, you can add a little bit more. All right, finally, is last time I put 3 bay leaves in. I'm gonna try 4 this time again because it's a quick gumbo. And I'm just putting this in for this last part. It's coming to a boil. Now we got to add our chicken. All right, then we got our chicken here from our deboned rotisserie chicken. Putting that in there. And then we're gonna let this come to a boil again. Now, this roux kind of gave it a pretty decent color. I'll have to admit that. There's been times when I've tried to use a quick roux and it's not dark enough. So we'll use some kitchen bouquet that can actually darken up just a little bit if we wanted to, but I don't have a problem with this color. What I do have a problem with is the amount of vegetables that are floating to the top, and I think that is not allowing that roux with those onions cook long enough. We did 15 minutes. Now, I want to say last time we had to do almost 20 minutes, but again, this is supposed to be a quick recipe, so we're trying to speed it along, and it should be coming to a boil soon. So as we start coming to a boil, I'm gonna say this way you can make this even quicker. I saw on Stale Cracker's video where I think it was his. There's a place where you can get the sausage when it comes in a package. It's already cut up for you. I also saw where him or Cajun Ninja, one of them, they just once they had that roux in there, they put the onions in there. That onion cooked down. Then they just added everything at the same time. They put the water in it, and then they put sausage in it. Then they put the chicken in it and let it cook down. So that's a way of speeding this up even more if you wanted to. The one thing is another reason why I need another GoPro, a new GoPro, is I've already noticed that one of my videos was upside down, and it's hard to grab this when your hands are full of making sure everything is right side up and all that. But you know, we are still about 55 minutes into this, and we already ready to let this come to boil. So what it took us last time just to get to the roux wasn't finished yet. We already have our gumbo here cooking down, waiting to come to a boil. As soon as it comes to a boil, we can put it on sim and we'll let it sim for 1 hour. So I really don't care for how light this gumbo is. It is a dark color, but it's still not dark enough for me. So I am just to show y'all kind of how this kitchen bouquet works is I'm just going to add just a tad bit to it and stir this around and incorporate this, and you're going to see it already get darker. I don't know how much y'all can notice that, but I noticed a big difference already. So I don't want to go too heavy duty on that, but that darkened it up a good bit. That's all I need, and I got the color I want. So now we just need this to come to a boil and go ahead and start cooking down. So come on, burner, let's get going. All right, so we are boiling hard, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm gonna set up a burner in the back, put on low heat, make a sim, and I'm moving this to the back. And that's it, low heat. I'm cooking this for 1 hour. And when that 1 hour is up, we'll be back for a couple of things we're gonna do. Start. So basically that's about it. We're gonna use our gumbo fillet once we're done with the simmering part. Another shout out to these guys. You know, if I had to pick exactly which one I liked, I couldn't do it. You know, you do have Mr. OG himself, Tony Shashery, who's had it for a long time. I just find that this is a tad too salty, but these both have different flavors, but not too overpowering on the hot. He does have an extra hot style. If I can find links, I will put links in both of these for you. And you know, as Mr. Stale Cracker would say, while we wait, we hydrate. And Call of Duty time's coming up. It's about that time. So see y'all back in an hour. Well, you know, if we're doing quick gumbo, we're gonna do quick rice with it. Got about 5 minutes left on our gumbo back here. Smells magnificent. and put our rice in. All right, so we up with our 1 hour cooking time, and it's now time to put in our gumbo filet. So give this a good stir, and then we'll go ahead and add our gumbo filet. All right, so a tablespoon and a half of gumbo filet, but I'll put some in, and then I'll stir it in because this will clump up. So just enough to get it to stir in. See chicken and all that stuff floating around in there. And we'll start it in some more. And our rice is done also. All right, we finished our gumbo filet. Got that all stirred in. And now comes the secret ingredient from Mr. Cajun Ninja himself. And 1 cup of very cold, I even put this in the freezer for the last 30 minutes. But 1 bottle of extremely cold water. And what that does is supposed to kind of shock. If you know anything about that, it kind of shocks the gumbo with that cold temperature and kind of increases that seasoning, so to say. And we're done. We have our rice right here. That kind of fluffed up. That is ready to go. We got some crackers. Just to show y'all what my family got me this, but I really think it's for them. But I do a lot of his recipes from YouTube. I gave you all links before about this, but he has some great recipes. We like all his YouTube stuff, so this has even more in it. So if y'all ever want to do any of this cooking, I highly suggest it. But he has some great recipes also. Well, it looks close to the same thing. Again, you got a lot of this onion and vegetable, and I'm gonna tell you, it isn't as predominant in person as it appears on this video, but it is different. So you see we still have chicken, even though we use 1 less chicken. And this is the kind of ratio of chicken to sausage that I do like. You know, and another thing is what I will do, and I kind of need both hands for this, but I will kind of fish around in here. I want to find those bay leaves and pull those bay leaves out. Here's one right here. There we go. Again, I'm shooting this in 4K, and it seems to really be popping these vegetables and looks clearer than what it really is, but it is really not that clear. It's crazy how this camera makes it look different than what it is in person. But we're ready to eat. Go ahead and bust my crackers out and put a couple crackers in it, and we're ready to go. Thank y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. If y'all haven't seen, I also have a gaming thing out also with Twitch. I dropped 100 kills on Call of Duty yesterday, so I'm gonna have that highlighted, and we've been playing online with our friends and stuff like that, so get that in. I'm doing pretty good at my trade for crypto right now, so been following that back and forth, but I don't want to get away from this cooking video. So thank y'all, and if y'all want to see other cooking videos, I'll do some more. The last gumbo one didn't do as well as my first one. That was the shrimp Creole one. That one did a lot of views, a lot of comments and stuff like that. So thank y'all. Have a good one.